Hello guys, welcome to a new video here in JS Education. My name is Carlos Santana and this is the second video for the course How to Build a Headless CMS with TypeScript and GraphQL. Okay, let's start. So in this new video, we need to create a new folder called Backend, and then we are going to move basically all the files we have inside the backend folder, because later we are going to create a front-end directory, so we are going to separate that in two parts. So the README can stay outside. Okay, so after we do that, here on the config, I'm going to change some of the data for the correct connection to my database. So make sure if you create already your Postgre database, make sure you are putting the correct username, password, and the database name. Okay, and then we need to go to package.json, and we are going to modify our dev script to run with tsnode-dev. So for that, we need to, let me see this error if you have pre-reader. Okay, so that's probably because I moved everything. So basically, if we go inside the backend, okay, projects, okay, so let me install everything again to fix this problem. And then we need to install the tsnode-dev dependency. So for doing that, we need to do npm install ts-node-dev, and that is going to be installed on dev dependencies with -d. Okay, and then if you remember, just in the last video, I told you that you need to install a package called npm check updates globally. So once you install that package, then you can run ncu command, and basically this is going to help us to keep update our packages. So for example, right now it's saying that this package has a new version. I like to use the command ncu-u because that forces to update our package directly. The ncu command itself is just showing which version, but with the -u is actually updating your package version, your package file. After that, you just run npm install to get the latest version. Perfect. Okay, and then we need to go to our tsconfig file, which is, I'm going to, right now it's on the source, but I need to move it back to the backend. And then on this file, I'm going to change the type roots to be source/add types, which is like a more standard. And then we are going to create a new folder here, which is gonna be add types. And then inside, we are going to create another folder called merge-graphql-schemas-ts, which is a package that doesn't have internal types or the types package. So for all of these packages that doesn't have the definitions, we need to create a declaration file like this, index.d.ts, and then here I'm going to define declare module and then the name of the package. After that, we need to go to the index file that we created in the source, which basically has a console, so we can remove that console. And then the first thing we need to do is to import a Apollo server like this, and then we are going to import our models, which is a file that I'm going to create later. After this, I'm going to start adding some type definitions for my GraphQL server. For now, it's like a dummy type definitions, like a hello type, and then a query say hello, passing a name with a string, and returning a type hello. And then once you define a type definition, of course, you need a resolvers. So in the resolvers, you are saying like your query say hello is going to receive arguments. The first parameter is the parent, which basically right now is not necessary. But then you can say or define by underscore. And then the second one is important, is arguments. And then you can return here. In this case, you are specifying that your type hello is going to return a message. So you need to return that node in your query, say hello. And then you return message with a text, hello, and then args that name. This name is coming from the parameter we are passing to the query. If the user doesn't pass any name, then by default it's gonna say the word world. So basically it's gonna say hello world if it doesn't have a name, or hello and the name that is being passed. And then once you have that defined, you need to pass them to the make executable schema to create your schema, and then you pass the type defs and your resolvers. And then we need to create a Apollo server instance. Basically, we send the schema, and then in the context, we are going to send our models, which basically are these ones that I include. Right now it doesn't exist, but I'm going to create that file after this. And finally, we need to connect or Sequelize and synchronize that. So in here, I have two variables, alter and force. Basically, force normally should go on false, because if you put true here, basically every time you refresh the server, is going to remove or delete your tables and create it again. So you need to be careful, because you can lose data. And most because right now we are using ts node-dev, which means it's going to do an auto reload every time we change a file. So that's why this needs to be normally on false. We will need it to change a lot of time, but right now it's okay to false. Alter means that is going to be able to alter tables without removing the actual table. So that's normally always in true. And then you just run models.sequelize.sync. You pass those variables, and then you start running your Apollo server on port 5000. And then we print that console saying running on the localhost 5000, for example. Okay, then we need to create a new directory called interfaces, which is going to be useful to add types and interfaces for our TypeScript. So we're going to create a file called index.ts. And let me copy that file. So basically, in here, I'm going to create this types file as well. And then right now we have only two types, app and user. And then the interface is defined with the prefix I data type, for example, and then whatever it has here. This is for Sequelize, all the data types. the interface app is for the model app we are going to create, and then the user. And then we are extending to a type. If you see the types, I'm not using anything but the name, and the interface has this prefix. So that's the way you make the difference. And here we are going to extend and add more fields like ID, token, created at, and updated at, and then pretty much the same for the app. And then we have iModels, where we specify our Sequelize models. Okay, then let's create the file types.ts, where we are going to define our types right now. So the first one is the app, and the second one is the user. So the app has the app name, the identifier, icon, and a description. And the user has username, password, email, privilege, and active. So this is gonna be our types. We're going to create models with these fields. So let's do that right now. So we need to create a new directory inside source called models. And then the first model I'm going to create is app.ts. So let me copy the code here. So in here, we are importing our interfaces that we already create, the interface app and the interface data types. And then basically we are exporting this this model, Sequelize model. Basically we are injecting here the Sequelize object and then the data types, and we creating our model with Sequelize.define app. Our fields are gonna be ID, which is a primary key, and it's going to have a UID value, and then app name, which is a string and is unique. The identifier is like the slug of the app name. Is the same name of the app but with lowercase, and the space are replaced with dashes, for example. It's also string, and then some icon and a description. And basically we just return the app here. After that, we need to create our model user.ts, and let me copy this code. So, okay, so this is the code. We need import from fogutils, which is a library that I create also, the function encrypt to encrypt the password, with SHA-1 or MD5 algorithms. We need to import the interface, user, models, and data types. And then our model user is going to have an ID, is going to have a username, which has some validation. For example, that should be alphanumeric, and then the length of the user needs to be minimum 4 and maximum 20 characters. The password is also string, is not allowed null. Email has some validation as well, is email with arguments, and then basically if it's not a correct email, we're returning the message invalid email. The privilege is going to say if the user is a regular user, if it's an admin, if it's an editor, etc. Active means if the account of the user is active or not. It's a Boolean. And then we have some hooks or Sequelize hooks, which basically we can handle the data before go to insert, for example. So for example, this method before create, that means before go to execute the insert, we have the user object here, and we can modify the password the user sent because the password is not encrypted yet. So basically we need to pass it to the encrypt function we have, and then user that password, so it's going to save it like encrypted. And then we have some associations from the users to the app. So basically a user has many models that app. So if you see here in the associate, I'm injecting the models. You will see how I'm passing these models to this function. But basically I'm saying that a user has many apps, and the foreign key is gonna be using the user ID, and the relationship is gonna be identified as apps. And then we just return the user. Then we need to create an index file in our models where we are going to include or like import all of the models we created so far. Let me pass this code here. So basically here we need to import Sequelize. We need to import hasKey from fogutils. We need to include the configuration, the database node that I have, the models interface, and then from the database I'm going to retrieve the dialect, port, host, database, username, and password. And then I'm going to build the URI for connect to the database, right? Like Postgres or MySQL or whatever, slash username with the password at the host, the port, slash the database. So with this, we need to create a new instance for Sequelize. And then in our models, we need to import Sequelize. We need to import the models using Sequelize.import, and then the file, which is the app and the user that we have on the same folder. And the third parameter is going to be the Sequelize instance. These methods in the new Sequelize version, this method is deprecated right now in the new version, the 6.2, I guess. But right now we are using 5.3 or 5.2, if I remember correctly. But for now we are going to use it like this, because I was trying to research how to use the new way, but I didn't have success yet. So for now we are going to keep it like that. And then the relationships, we need to pass all these models and then do a for each one. And then if hasKey models the model name, and then those model names has an associate method, we are going to call that associate method, and then we inject the models right here. So if you go to users, you see that this user.associate has this method, right? And then here we are injecting the models, and we can execute our relationships basically. Okay, so I think that's pretty much what we need to do. Let me run the project with npm run dev to see if everything works fine. So looks like the tables were created correctly. If you open your database, you should see your tables like this, like your table apps, and then your table users or user. We define the model like in singular, but then the tables are created on plural, so that's totally fine. But as you see, we have here the correct fields that we define. So that's fine, that's cool. And then we need to run our playground, GraphQL playground, to see if our initial query works. So for this, we need to do query, and then our query is say hello, which receive a name. So we can say here, say hello name Carlos, and then this is going to return a message. So if you run this, it's going to return message hello Carlos. But then if you don't pass any name, it's going to change to word, hello world. So I mean, that's like a really basic query that we can perform. For the next videos, I'm going to like remove this and like create an actual types and queries and mutations on GraphQL. But for now, I think is okay with this. So for this video, it's gonna be everything. I don't want to extend too much the video. I hope you like it. If you really like it, please subscribe to our channel. Also, if you have any question, drop a comment. We have a Slack community that if you want to join us, you are welcome to do it. The link is on the description. So that's it. Thank you for your time and see you in the next video. Bye.